Hey everyone, it's Adam. I've been using the new 13-inch iPad Pro 7th generation with the Magic Keyboard for iPad 2nd generation for the past week, and I've collected my thoughts on the Magic Keyboard in this video and in an accompanying blog post on my site tao.com. The second iteration of the Magic Keyboard for iPad has the following additions, changes, and improvements over the first version. A new keyboard position, function row with an escape key, an aluminum base and palm rests, larger glass trackpad with haptic feedback, lighter weight, and finally a side-mounted power port that rotates along with the hinge. Check out the position of the keys depicted in these 3 generations of keyboard cases for the iPad Pro. Now, the overall size of the Magic Keyboard and Smart Keyboard Folio has not changed much. The new iPad Pro is ever so slightly taller and wider. But the position of the keyboard has gone from being in front on the Smart Keyboard to the middle in the first Magic Keyboard to further back in the second Magic Keyboard. Now, this was done to accommodate the larger trackpad and function row keys. And to retain the same 90 to 130 degree viewing angle, Apple adjusted the hinge in the back so that it snaps back to 90 degrees compared to what looks like 75 degrees in the original. When the first Magic Keyboard was released in 2020, people noted that adding the function row would be impractical because they would be blocked by the display. The new hinge design pushes the display back enough to accommodate the function row. Now, we'll see later in this article how this change introduced a regression in which Apple ultimately deemed acceptable. The keys look and feel similar to the ones on the previous Magic Keyboard, and I'm happy to say that there's an escape key along with those function row buttons that everyone's been waiting for. Now, I have to get used to pressing these dedicated keys for things like brightness and volume instead of swiping down on Control Center or using the keyboard shortcuts with the globe modifier for things like Spotlight and the app switcher. The aluminum base provides a more solid feeling when typing, and this, coupled with the push-back keyboard position, allows my hands to rest fully on the palm rests. On the previous Magic Keyboard, they rubbed against the front edge of the case, which was a little bit irritating at times. The sounds of typing on the new Magic Keyboard closely resembles that of the original Magic Keyboard, which I found to be very smooth and nice. Just listen here. Now, raise your hand if you remember the following trackpads on these laptops: the PowerBook 2300C, the 20th anniversary Mac, the Wall Street and Bronze PowerBook G3, the Titanium PowerBook G4, or the 12-inch PowerBook G4. These were tiny trackpads compared to the trackpad even on the first Magic Keyboard, which I found to be wide enough but not quite tall enough. Well, the new trackpad on the Magic Keyboard 2nd generation is a definite improvement. It's larger and is made of glass. It feels great and provides plenty of space to mouse around and perform gestures. I also enjoy the soft thunk noise over the original's loud click. Just listen here. I had forgotten that the 2018 iPad was actually lighter than the M1 iPad Pro. And I guess I never really noticed this, that it was heavier and thicker, because the M1 iPad Pro was always in the Magic Keyboard case nearly 100% of the time. Here are the thickness and weight specs for various iPads that I've owned over the years. Now, count me as a user who prefers the iPad Pro getting thinner and lighter. The 13-inch is certainly more hand-holdable than before compared to its predecessors, although I think the 11-inch is still a better option if you primarily plan to use the iPad Pro as a tablet. Now, the new iPad Pro with the Magic Keyboard nearly matches the weight of the 13-inch MacBook Air at 2.7 pounds or 1.24 kilograms. Now, I personally use a 14-inch M2 Max MacBook Pro, which is 3.6 pounds or 1.62 kilograms. But I'll take any weight reduction I can get when I have to travel with both devices. Now, this last thing that I want to mention is worth mentioning. The hinge containing the power port now rotates when you open and close the Magic Keyboard. Now, I usually plug a USB-C cable into the Thunderbolt port on the iPad itself. So I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but if you've been using an angled USB-C cable, be prepared for your cable to be sticking up after closing your case, as you can see in this video above. Now, I have no complaints about the build quality of the aluminum base, the keys, and the trackpad. Apple's been making these things for a very long time, so you come to expect top-notch quality. The outer case, on the other hand, remains a mixed bag. We know that Apple shies away from using plastic these days, the Apple Pencil's outer housing aside, but the polyurethane cover continues to leave much to be desired. My keyboard folio and the original Magic Keyboard are well used and look the part. Just look at that rubbery material around the edges. It's peeling off all over the place on both keyboards. And there are oil and dirt stains front and back, and the keys on the Magic Keyboard exhibit that ABS shine. And sadly, after just a few days of usage, I can already see some of that shine developing on the keys on the new Magic Keyboard. And sadly, I expect similar degradation in the outer materials and edges in the future on the Magic Keyboard 2nd generation. Now, would we have been any happier, however, if Apple had chosen to use the fine woven material for the outer case on the Magic Keyboard? Just think about that. Now, the Magic Keyboard does take a step back in a couple of areas worth mentioning over the previous version. The change to the cantilever's hinge max angle has introduced a regression in the iPad Pro's lapability. It's now easier for the 2024 iPad Pro to fall over backwards when resting on one's lap or at a negative incline angle. The center of gravity seems to have moved half an inch further back. Now, this is not a problem if one's hands are resting, i.e. pushing down on the palm rest. But if you lift your hands, be prepared to catch your iPad if it's on your lap. I wrote in my previous article about an alternate tablet position for the iPad Pro and Magic Keyboard. This position allowed you to draw on the iPad Pro like an easel without having to remove it from the case. Now, while this feature still exists on the M4 iPad Pro and Magic Keyboard, it's almost unusable. The new hinge is looser, making it easier to push the display down so it's flat when writing or drawing with the Apple Pencil Pro. The original Magic Keyboard's hinge was much tighter and better resisted pressing down on the screen with the Apple Pencil. So, the easel orientation, get a thumbs down from me. I'll just remove the iPad Pro from the keyboard whenever I want to write or draw on it. Now, in 1976, there was a movie called Logan's Run, where people in the future lived in this seemingly idyllic utopian city. Everyone's needs were taken care of from birth to the age of 30. A life clock crystal was embedded in each person's palm when they were born, and it changed colors as they grew older. Clear up to age 8, yellow from 8 to 16, green from 16 to 24, and red from 24 to 30. Once the life clock started blinking red, people had to go to a sleep shop or try their hand at being reincarnated through an event called Carousel. Now, both methods, as you might imagine, are euphemisms for euthanasia. The city's computer system used it to keep the population in check. Those that tried to live beyond their means and tried to live past last day were called runners. And they were hunted down and eliminated by black and gray clad officers called Sandman. Now, in the movie, the central computer, called the Thinker in the novel on which the film is based, accelerated the life clock of the protagonist, a Sandman named Logan 5, while giving him a mission to find Sanctuary, a place runners go to escape last day. Now, I think a lot about this scene whenever I look back on all the technology that I've purchased, recycled, and discarded over the years. Hardware and software, they all go through similar phases in their existence. New, modern, vintage, obsolete, and ancient. And retro for hardware and software that's been giving new life through emulation. So I ask you, what is the life clock for that shiny new piece of technology that you just bought today? How long do you plan to use it? And how long does the company who made it expect it to last? In 2020, I wrote about the many keyboards of past, present, and future iPads. And I had this to say about a future iPad Pro and Magic Keyboard. Let's read. Once I stop using this particular iPad Pro, or if a future iPad Pro has a significant design change to its physical dimensions, this Magic Keyboard is going to become a paperweight or museum piece. Apple has perfected the art of planned obsolescence in many of their products. iPad keyboards like the Smart Keyboard Folio, and Magic Keyboard become obsolete once a new iPad comes out with a different form factor. AirPods and AirPods Pro become obsolete when their tiny non-removable batteries get depleted. Such is the price we pay for having beautifully designed and vertically integrated products. We've reached this moment in 2024. The internal magnets are positioned such that differently, such that they are incompatible with the previous iPad Pro and Magic Keyboard combination, and vice versa. And this is really sad because, look, I get it. Apple makes products that are tightly integrated with one another. And with all the changes in manufacturing with the new 13-inch iPad Pro to make it 5.1 millimeters thin, it must have been impossible for them to position the magnets in exactly the same place as the 2018 to 2022 iPad Pro lineup. This has been Apple's MO for as long as I've been using their products. And maybe it's nostalgia for the past, but I feel like the cycles for such planned obsolescence have become shorter. Now, at the same time, Apple has maintained compatibility of the Magic Keyboard first generation with its new M2-powered iPad Airs. And it wasn't like Apple didn't change anything with these new iPad Airs. They moved the front-facing camera to landscape orientation, and they changed the processor from the M1 to the M2. Yet they kept the same form factor, and they kept the magnets in the same place. So as a result, the life clock on the first generation Magic Keyboard has firmly moved to its green phase. If in a few years the iPad Air adopts the thinner and lighter design of the M4 iPad Pros, the blinking red phase will begin for the original Magic Keyboard. And today's new Magic Keyboard will move into its green phase to be replaced by an even thinner, lighter, and maybe more adjustable Magic Keyboard third generation when the next generation iPad Pro is released. I love keyboards, and I bought dozens of them over the course of my life. During the pandemic, I went on a mechanical keyboard buying spree. I enjoy swapping switches, lubing switches, changing the keycaps, and customizing the keys. I'm always on the lookout for new keyboards. One day, I'd like to have an ortholinear or split ortho keyboard. For some reason, however, I've always balked at the price of a keyboard like the ZSA Moonlander, which retails at $365. Why then did I barely think twice about plunking down $349 for the new Magic Keyboard? And I'll readily admit the plain and obvious. Apple's convinced me over the years that it's the best integrated keyboard for the versatile iPad Pro. Good job, Apple marketing. All that integration versatility, however, comes at a cost. 13-inch iPad Pro, $1299 to $2599 depending on the configuration. Magic Keyboard, second generation, $349. Apple Pencil Pro, $129, for a grand total of $1,777 to $3,077. Now, I'm fortunate to be able to afford these computers and accessories. But right now, if you're looking for a cheaper alternative, there aren't many third-party choices out there that are designed for the new iPad Pro. Logitech, however, makes the Combo Touch. It features a kickstand and detachable keyboard and trackpad and is priced at $259. This could be a good option if you want to switch between using the iPad Pro as a tablet and laptop. And there's also the option of carrying a separate external keyboard and mouse and trackpad with you. But that sort of negates having a thin and relatively light integrated solution. I would really like to see from Apple a little more innovation in the area of long-term interoperability. Despite being a very good keyboard, the Magic Keyboard is still just a unitasker. I can't use it with any other device other than this M4-powered 13-inch iPad Pro. A mechanical keyboard that I buy today, on the other hand, will be usable for years, if not decades, down the road. Now, here's what I want to change to the Magic Keyboard for the iPad to make it last longer. 1. Allow the Magic Keyboard to act as a USB keyboard and trackpad for any computer when plugged into the USB port in the hinge. 2. Add Bluetooth and a battery so it can be used with up to 3 different Apple devices or other devices supporting Bluetooth when not connected to an iPad. And 3. Allow the backing to be removed from the hinge when used in this manner, or be able to be folded back all the way. Now, raise your hand if you want to see a flat keyboard and trackpad combo like this. This is a photo illustration. But Microsoft is doing something just like this with its new Flex Surface keyboard, and Apple has a similar product for the 20th anniversary Mac, not to mention the Logitech Combo Touch that I showed earlier. I think this will breathe new life into the Magic Keyboard for iPad and allow it to be used for much longer on a wider variety of devices. Sadly, this is only a pipe dream since the USB port in the hinge is power only and doesn't transmit data, so they can't update the firmware to make this possible. I guess all this means is that just maybe there's something to look forward to in the 3rd generation Magic Keyboard. If not, I'm crossing my fingers that some enterprising fellow mods the Magic Keyboard so that it can escape last day and reach keyboard sanctuary. So that's my review of the new Magic Keyboard for the 13-inch iPad Pro in 2024. If you're upgrading for an iPad Pro from 2018 to 2022 and already have the old Magic Keyboard, you will reluctantly hand over another $349 for this new version. But ultimately, you'll like the additional keys and improvements to the trackpad and build. And the regressions are unfortunate, but in the case of lappability, once you're aware of it, you'll keep one hand on the palm rest to prevent it from tipping over. The Magic Keyboard should not be the new reason to buy the new iPad Pro, but is recommended if you plan to use the iPad Pro in laptop mode for any long period of time. And if affordability is an issue, check out the Logitech Combo Touch or use an external keyboard with a smart cover and an iPad stand. That's it for this video. I hope you've liked it, and if you like the channel, please remember to subscribe down below. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.